So we're going to get down to the nitty gritty, to the business end here, to the tips, somewhere we can make a little bit of money on these ones. Let us start. We will start with the women, but let's start with the men's this time. We have got Thiem versus Khachanov. I think is how you say it.
I've always heard the K is silent in his last name, and then it's Khachanov. But he's Russian. Good kid. I've been told online that I look a lot like him. We have a lot of similar facial similarities. I'm not Russian at all, but Khachanov is Russian. His wife is expecting a new baby. It's very exciting. This is the deepest he's ever made it in a Grand Slam in the quarterfinal round. His previous best was round 4. He's been to round 4 twice at Roland Garros. Lost to Zverev in 5 sets last year. Got smoked 2 years prior to that in round 4. But all that said, he's had a nice run. He's done well. His game stacks up fairly well against Thiem. We've only seen these players play each other once. It was last year. I think it was last year in Paris where Khachanov went on to win his most noteworthy title of his career at the Masters in Paris last year. He beat Thiem along the way, but Thiem was kind of leaking oil. You know, he plays a very, very rigorous schedule throughout the year, and so he was a little beaten down. Didn't really have his best stuff. And so I don't know that you can really use that as a very fair comparison for what to expect in this match, where Thiem does seem to be coming on, and Khachanov is he's had some limitations physically getting here. I would expect this to be a competitive match, but I don't think Khachanov really has a very realistic shot here as a dog. I think Thiem gets through to the semifinals. But my look here is over. I like over 40 games. I think we see a 3-1 Thiem. 3-1 Thiem as an exact score here is actually probably my favorite look because the odds are so nice on that one. But I do think Thiem goes through. And curious to hear what Snice thinks.
Yeah, well, 1.33 for Thiem then, if you think it's going to be a competitive match. That seems like a little bit low, to be honest with you. It does. Yeah, right. Is very quickly, is Khachanov a player too? Because you're right. That's why I struggled with the name. I struggle with him generally, but this is the first time that I saw this name. So is he going to be a player that we can look out for in the future?
I would say very much so. Yes, he's got a very, very powerful game. He's young. He's got a lot of growing to do, a lot of learning to do. It takes years to kind of work your way up to the level where you're making Grand Slam quarterfinals and semifinals. And if you look at his trajectory, it all kind of maps out that over the next 4 years, he'll probably make some semifinals, maybe a final. The fact that he's won a Masters is pretty damn impressive. It's hard to win a Masters in men's tennis, and he's done it. So I would expect, yes, that we'll hear from this guy for quite a few years.
Yeah,
he's got the double initials KK. And in our group, a group of friends who talk tennis, we call them Pocket Kings, which is the poker nickname. So Pocket Kings is here to stay, and he's got good game for clay. He's just not as good as Thiem, in my opinion.
Is that I know poker. We have played poker.
That's right. I know you know.
I do know you very well. Me not so well.
You look at your cards. You got 2 kings. You got KK.
2 kings.
Pocket Kings. This is our guy.
Yeah, all right. So, Welcome is liking the over. Welcome's nice. He thinks it's going to be a competitive match, but he thinks obviously that Thiem will prevail. Are you on a similar sort of thoughts on that one? It's nice.
Yeah, I would say so. And first, just to speak a little bit about Karen Khachanov. He had a really poor start to the season. He made a racket change, and he was really, really struggling. So he was starting to turn around on the clay swing, but initially, as the year was starting, I didn't think he would be able to compete after taking that huge Masters title back in late 2018. But he's really come on now, and I think he played incredibly impressively versus Juan Martín del Potro in his last match. Did not think he would be able to win that, but he managed to pull out with some real powerful first strike tennis, and I think he can bring that to Thiem as well. We've only seen them play once, as Will said, and that was on hard court. So we know that Khachanov has the weapons to push Thiem around, but the question is if he can do it on clay. And I think he can. Thiem has played himself into form. He's looked really solid. I rate him as one of the top players on clay, one of the elite players. And as for the win, I don't think he can threaten him. But I think we will see an over here. 4 sets.
Okay.
I would probably, as Wales said, put a sprinkle there on 3-1 exact score to Thiem, because that's what I think can happen. Khachanov zones in for 1 set, and Thiem gets out of trouble after that one.
Yeah. Well, Cap was probably wiping his brow on that one, because if you'd have gone under, didn't you guys go head to head? Yeah, I know you.
Yeah, when we've gone head to head, Snice has battered me, so I'm glad we're on the same wavelength on that one.
Yeah. On Novak Djokovic and Alexander Zverev, obviously Djokovic there, massive favourites, 1.13. He's the second favourite, obviously, to win behind Nadal. Are there any bets in this match that either of you like? Because obviously something's a bit hard when heavy favourite.
Let me set this one up, and because I don't have a strong feel for this one, and there's a couple reasons why. So Zverev and Djokovic have played each other 4 times. One of them on clay, the Rome Masters final last year, 2 years ago. I can't remember if it was last year or 2 years ago. Too much tennis now running kind of through my brain, I guess. But he's beaten him in the final of the Rome Masters, which was a very, very noteworthy and very, very big career moment for Zverev to win that title, beating Djokovic in the process. And he did it convincingly. It was an impressive match. That's the only kind of telltale we have for how these guys match up on clay. In that match, again, Djokovic wasn't quite up to the form that he is now. And I would say, the more interesting match was the Tour final last year, where Zverev won the biggest title of his career to that point, beating Djokovic in that final convincingly. And the wheels kind of fell off for Zverev after that match. Like, he was not the same player in 2019 that he was in 2018. He really has yet to come through with a very, an impressive win, an impressive performance at the tour level this year, and it all kind of fell apart after that match. I don't think that so this is either like a continuation of his kind of lackluster 2019 campaign, or this is kind of he closes the book and he does something awesome and kind of resets things on the kind of remembering like, oh yeah, like I can beat these guys, I can compete with these guys. I don't have to choke away every freaking time I have a lead in a best of 5 set. So one of those two things is going to happen here. If you look at the way the market has gone, it opens Zverev at about plus 400. And Djokovic has just gotten dumped on. I mean, people cannot wait to get to the window to bet Djokovic to win this thing. The line has completely tilted in favor of the Serb, and I don't know that I totally agree. I thought the opening line was pretty fair. So if you're into value betting and you like picking off value, there is some value on Zverev right now based on what his true price ought to be. I just am not sure I'm in the mindset that he can get it done. But again, I kind of like the over here. I think this should be competitive. It's funny that you've seen the market just in love with Djokovic winning, but you haven't really seen the totals move. Game handicap especially. I think first set over 9.5 is maybe my favorite look of the whole match. And then the total over 35, I think, is good as well, because I do like the potential for Zverev to at least pinch a set here, and potentially Djokovic wins 3-1, maybe 3-2. But this should be a good competitive match as well. So the overs are in play for me here.
Okay, so another overs. And I agree as well with the summary of Zverev. He was looking very hot, sort of the player of the moment. He's taking a little bit of a dip, but maybe he will come back round and realise that he has the necessary weapons to win. What do you think there, Snice? Are you again on the overs, or are you going head-to-head with Wales?
I would say I'm going to have to go head-to-head with Wales this one. I think that Zverev hasn't been anywhere near the top of his game this season. As Will said, he just kind of fell off a cliff. And I think he's being given too much credit here for defeating an errant Fabio Fognini in his last match. And Fognini had never been further in a Grand Slam. This is only Zverev's second Grand Slam quarterfinal ever. And the first one was when he came here last year. His Grand Slam struggles are well noted at this point. He's been hitting tons of unforced errors throughout the entire tournament and double faults at pressure moments. Just by my count here, he had 14 versus John Millman, a 2-0 game that he let slip and had to come through in 5. He had 14 versus Lajovic, again, a 2-0 lead. He let it slip. and go 5 sets. And he had 12 double faults versus Fognini. And I think he wouldn't have won that match if Fognini didn't fall off after the first set, because he was kind of dominated there. I think he's been very passive. He hasn't been brave enough to push his forehand to actually hit through it. He's just been pushing it back into play. And another detail I've noticed is that he's struggled a bit on the second serve, and that's not a good news when you're going to face one of the world's best returners of all time. For example, he won only 37% of his second serve points versus Millman and 33% versus Lajovic. He's lacking a lot of velocity in general because he hits big, but it's only been averaging 98 miles per hour versus Fognini, for example. And I think Djokovic has clicked into gear here. He hasn't dropped his set yet. He came through a tricky player in Jan-Lennart Struff, who I thought would threaten him. And Zverev and Struff both have big hitting, powerful games, but Djokovic easily dismantled him in straight sets. So it's obviously a step up in quality. But one thing I've noticed here is with all the rain that's been coming in, the courts have slowed down considerably. I would say about 25 to 30%. And just as that gave Struff huge troubles, I think that will give Zverev troubles as well. So with the slower courts, I think Djokovic will out-hit Zverev in the rallies, wait for the unforced errors to come, be a bit of a wall, and I think he wins this in straight sets. So I bet that at 1.91 or minus 110.
Yeah. He's making a very convincing argument. Whale, how are you feeling with that overs ticket?
Yeah, I mean, that was my original read on this as well. But because, Zverev has been playing this base court game the whole tournament, and it's frustrating as hell because he can do so much better than that. He's got more competitiveness. He's got a better way to play. And if it clicks for him, he can be more competitive. If he settles for playing baseline against a player like Djokovic, he is absolutely toast. But I think he knows that. He's beaten Djokovic twice. He knows what it takes. He knows he has the shots in his arsenal to win key points against him. And really, I'm only counting on a couple of tie breaks or one set out of Zverev in order to get an over. Djokovic hasn't played competitive tennis really. No one's really given him a test at all. I think it kind of would benefit him before he goes up against Thiem, before he goes up against Nadal, to have a little bit of a fight, to get into the mud a little bit. And so I don't know that you're going to see a ton of urgency on Djokovic's part to dispatch him quickly. I think it would actually kind of benefit him to play a little bit of a grudge match here. Granted, the schedule is compressing on the men's side because of these rain delays, and the weather does look suspect for the rest of the tournament. So that could change his motivations a little bit, I guess. But I think Zverev is going to be a formidable opponent for him, and you mentioned the Fognini match. Something clicked. There was one game where they played, I don't know what it was, it felt like 50 points. Zverev was defending his serve, and it was like, man, if he's broken here, he's going away, he's done. But he had the mental resiliency to fight through that, and that actually tilted things in his favor, and it went the other way. Fognini kind of quit after that. And so, I think there's a potential that things have clicked into place for him in that match, and that he is more competitive in this one. And the fact that he's beaten him, he beat him in the Tour Finals. That was his most, the biggest win of his career. I think that kind of confidence in his pocket lends it to a competitive match.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Fed Nadal?
Right. Yeah. Well, listen, I'm looking at the time. We've got like 3 minutes. Okay. So let's do Rafa Nadal, and then on the women's side, throw in your bets. But we literally have. So you've got like a minute and a half each. If you were to even it out.
I'll give you 20 seconeds.
Okay, go.
Nadal 3-0. That's all I need. Nadal 3-0. Minus 120. 3-0. Federer doesn't take a set
he's
off
agreeing.
Nadal.
Snice is agreeing.
No way.
Snice is agreeing. Snice, what do you like on that match? 3-0. You going?
I'm going to go ahead and play it a little bit safer. I'm going to go with the spread, minus 6.5 games. I think Nadal gets through very comfortably here. For example, he leads the head-to-head 23-15. He's 13-2 on clay, 5-0 at Roland Garros. Federer hasn't shown anything that I would say would be enough to threaten the king of clay in this match. The lefty topspin into his one-handed backhand has always been the moneymaker for Nadal on the big sand pit that is Philippe Chatrier in the longer rallies. He doesn't have a chance. And with the slower courts now, with all the rain, it'll hurt his serve and volley chances and be able to pressure him at the net. So Nadal wins fairly comfortably here for me.
There we go. Well, 2 plays on the similar page. All right, women's side. It's nice. What do you like of the 3 matches we've got? We've got 2 quarterfinals and 1 semi-final. What are your favorite bets?
My favorite bet here is Simona Halep, minus 5.5 games. She's facing Amanda Anisimova. She's been very impressive here, but I don't think she has the pedigree required to take down Halep just yet. Apart from Sabalenka, which is a good matchup for her, she hasn't really faced anyone here. And she hasn't had to battle back from adversity the way Halep has had to do. To beat a player like Halep on clay, you have to have impeccable first strike tennis, and while Anisimova has nothing to lose here and can come up firing over best of 3 sets, I don't think she has enough to dethrone Halep here. So I think Halep gets it out with a decent margin in the end.
All right, fantastic stuff. And obviously, if you want more plays, Snice is documenting them all on Twitter at SniceMaster. All right, at SniceMaster. Remember, yes, I've got so many Twitter handles to remember. Whale Kappa, what's your favorite play on the women's side, the 2 quarterfinals and the semi-final?
Yeah. I like that look, but I'm not betting any more of the women's tennis. Sloane Stephens disappointed me. That was just crushing. Osaka disappointed me. I keep getting let down here by the women in this match. I'm clutching my Halep to win the title ticket. At this point, that is like my only hope to get back into the black on the women's side for this whole tournament. So hopefully she gets through and doesn't let me down. Come on, Simona, get the title. Defend your Roland Garros title. That's basically my last hope to get into the plus money on the women's side of the tournament at this point. So Konta has just been taking money from my pocket. I just can't get a read on how she's playing this well in these moments, in this stage. Biggest first ever. So many things are first for her in this, and she's handling it all with such incredible poise and power and first strike tennis. It's impressive to watch. And so I'm going to get out. I've been getting run over by the Konta train just round after round. I'm getting out of the way at this point. Go right ahead.
Sometimes it's better to know
when beats her in the final.
When to bow up. Listen, Whale_Kappa at SniceMaster. Give them a follow on Twitter. Follow their plays. Thank you so much. I'm sorry it was so rushed today, but I appreciate the plays. And I'll see you on Friday for the finals.